In the year 1950, Ajia Rinpoche was born into a nomadic family in eastern Tibet. At the age of 2, he was formally recognized by the 10th Panchen Lama himself as the reincarnation of Lumbum Gai, father of Lama Tsongkhapa, the founder of the Gelugpa sect of Tibetan Buddhism, therefore inheriting the high position of the overall abbot of Kumbum Monastery. At only 2 years old, Ajia Rinpoche left his family and began his training at Kumbum in his lineage. And there he remained until the Chinese Great Leap Forward of 1958. At this time, the Chinese closed Kumbum and forced Rinpoche to disrobe and attend Chinese school, where he was taught communist doctrine. In 1962, the Chinese government relaxed, and Rinpoche was allowed to formally resume his Buddhist studies at Tashil Umpo Monastery in Shigatse, under the tutelage of the 10th Panchen Lama himself. This freedom was short-lived, however, and Ajia Rinpoche was again forced to interrupt his training 4 years later in 1966, having to leave Tashil Umpo and return to Kumbum as the Chinese Revolution started. At this time, he was made to work with other monks and lamas in Chinese forced labor camps. The work was grueling. However, despite the danger, Ajia Rinpoche continued to secretly meet with his Buddhist tutors at night, using Buddhist teachings hidden by day, as this one is hidden behind a painting. He was able to continue with his Buddhist training. When the Chinese total ban on religion was finally lifted in 1980, Kumbum Monastery reopened, and in 1990, Ajia Rinpoche became its administrator. To improve the education and health conditions of Tibetans throughout his country, he established new schools and charitable foundations, like the Kumbum Red Cross. As the vice president of the Chinese Buddhist Association, by 1998, Ajia Rinpoche was in line to be named the president of the Chinese Buddhist Association, a very distinguished title. China announced its own Panchen Lama in place of the boy chosen by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. This Chinese Panchen Lama is, however, considered illegitimate by Tibetan tradition. When they arranged for Ajia Rinpoche to become the illegitimate Panchen Lama's personal tutor, they were essentially demanding that he support the destruction of Tibetan culture and religion, and this he could not do. To escape this order, Ajia Rinpoche fled China in 1998 to Guatemala, the only country that would allow him to enter without a visa, and with the help of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Rinpoche finally settled near San Francisco, California, in the USA. Once out of China and away from Tibet, he was at last free of religious and political oppression, and the work he has done since then has been immeasurably valuable. Ajia Rinpoche's wise and generous spirit is visible to everyone who encounters him. He has been invited to speak about Tibet and Tibetan Buddhism for special engagements in New York, Washington, D.C., Denver, and Los Angeles. And in 2001, he spoke on behalf of the Tibetan people for the U.S. Commission on Religious Freedom. In November of 2001, he was invited to serve as a member of the board of directors of the International Campaign for Tibet in Washington, D.C. Following September 11th, Rinpoche organized a Marin County multi-denominational day of prayer led by representatives of 10 different religions. Ajia Rinpoche founded the Tibetan Center for Compassion and Wisdom in Mill Valley, California, which is a non-profit organization dedicated to preserving Tibetan and Mongolian culture and to advancing understanding of Buddhism in the West. Rinpoche made an invaluable contribution to Tibetan art and architecture by designing and, with the help of others, building the largest three-dimensional Kalachakra mandala in the world. And in 2005, the Dalai Lama personally requested that Ajia Rinpoche take on a new task. He was made the director of the Tibetan Cultural Center in Bloomington, Indiana, a facility that Taktsur Rinpoche, the Dalai Lama's brother, founded in 1979. He is committed to fostering and preserving Tibetan and Mongolian Buddhist cultures in the USA.